Are you ready to take your organization to the next level and become a game changer in your industry? Then look no further. Welcome to Yokai Business Show, where we bring you the world's top business thought leaders to share their secrets to success, from leadership development to finance, marketing, self-development, human resource management, and much, much more. Our guests reveal the strategies, tactics, and mindsets that have made them so successful. So let's dive in and learn from the best in the business. Awesome. If you're joining us from the UK, good evening to you. And from the rest of the world, thank you so much for joining us. And welcome to the very best show. I say that myself because I love this show. I've always had great experts on the show. And today is no different because Martin Riley from right here in the United Kingdom is going to show you exactly how to simplify your business. In fact, if you want to know how to create a stress-free business that is profitable and that is progressive year on year, you want to tune in today because Martin has figured out what it takes, what is required to create a stress-free business. Martin, thank you so much for joining us here on the show.
It's an absolute pleasure to be here. I love the show.
You know, man, I appreciate what you're doing in the world right now. You're making a lot of business owners like Bill listening in the audience today create businesses that they can pass on to their families that is stress-free. And I truly appreciate that because a lot of people need that, especially post-pandemic. Tell us a little bit about the catchphrase, how people know you here in the United Kingdom.
Well, I'm well known for making the complex simple because business is so overcomplicated. And what I do is clarify it down to its nuggets, to the key parts, so people can get to grips quickly.
Yes, I love that. Because, you know, if it is complex, people are not going to do it. If it is simple and people can see it clearly, they're going to implement it. And of course, you and I know that it is the implementation that truly brings the result that people need. And simplicity makes it far much easier. Now, I know you have over 20 years of experience in coaching. And you have created one of the best books and system really that is out there here in the UK, the Business Jet Engine. Talk to us about your experience as a coach and what brought you in creating this outstanding system.
It'd be my pleasure to. Well, it all started really, let's go back. My first career was in product design, and then I got involved in personal development. And my first proper business venture was producing mental attitude training cards for kids. It was a product called MindZone. We linked with a sports psychologist. It went down really well in market research. And then we absolutely bombed it because we totally misjudged what it took to market the product and get it on the shelves in the stores. Yeah. And I realized I didn't know half as much as I thought I did about business. And I licked my wounds, learned a lot about coaching, learned a lot more about business. And then I sort of set out to do it properly. And it was by studying the journey of so many small businesses and how they grew and that the elements they had to get in place as they went, that I decoded the journey. I saw there were these stages, and I realized I could put it against a fun metaphor because being a designer and making the complex simple, I knew I had to have a simple and easy to understand tool or product or concept. And that's why I came up with this concept of the Business Jet Engine, which I'll talk you through at some point when you'd like me to.
Would love that. You know, it was that experience which left you in debt and made you really work very hard in identifying where you went wrong.
Yeah, it was too painful to ever want to do it again. I didn't want to land up in that much debt and have to work my way out of it. So I thought I've got to be clear of the journey next time. And it was in that process. And then I developed the process for coaching it as well, and found I had a product that clients absolutely loved, and it worked incredibly well. Yeah, it was when really experienced business owners turned around to me and said, "Where's this from? I wish I had this 10 years ago." And I hadn't even written the book then. I developed the idea. I realized I've got to turn this into a book, into a product that people worldwide can access.
Yes. Well, we're grateful you did that because you've gone on to work with all sizes of business, multi-million pound enterprises, and even just a small size. Would you share one, maybe a case study of how your system has truly helped even a smaller business or even massive businesses?
Yeah, with pleasure, and without giving names because there's obviously confidentiality. But I think there's this is such a classic example that I was approached by a business locally that I knew had a great reputation, but they came and saw me in confidence and confessed things weren't going well. Like so many business owners, they were great at what they did, at what they do.
That's right.
But talking things through, I realized that their business model was a little bit off whack. And there's three parts to getting a business model right. There's what you do best that gives you edge, that gives you that competitive edge. There's the problems the client have that they will pay to have solved, they need and want, but will also pay. Then the third circle in the model is appropriate winning pricing, what you can offer it at that makes you the profit you need, but at a price clients think is great value. And those three circles form an intersect.
That's right.
And it's just on that intersect you have your viable business model. So I realized with them, we had to just tweak their business model, not a great deal, but really get that right and realize what their customers wanted most, that they were best at the right price that made them a profit.
That's right.
And clients couldn't wait to buy into. And very quickly, we started to turn their business around. So firstly, that was getting the business model right. But then what we did was against that refreshed business model, we used the business jet engine to choose their high impact strategic priorities year on year. And that's kind of the bit I particularly want to talk about today, is how that model works and how it helps businesses have that stress-free progress. Because that's such a key thing. You're saying getting that work-life balance right. I don't even call it work-life balance, just life balance. Our business is meant to serve our life. We're not meant to be a slave to our business.
Absolutely. Absolutely. You said something very interesting. My previous guest, we were looking at values, what is it that drives you? And I know the listeners would recognize that it was with a lady called Darcy, which was incredible. What you touched on there, the intersection of these three things, it is when you are operating in that area, truly, you don't have stress because you are operating in your area of strength, and also you're helping the clients that they feel like it's a win-win-win situation, which is what we truly want.
Absolutely. And that's why finding what they really need, want, and will value at the price you're offering it, so it works for everybody. And that thing about edge, you've got to have something you're passionate about and better at others. Because we were talking earlier, if you don't have edge, it's like being in a football league. Nobody wants to be in the middle or the bottom of the football league. You want to be at the top of the league. It's a much easier place to be. So if you don't have edge, you're not at the top, you need to up your game and find what that edge is, what you do better than others that your clients truly value.
Incredible.
At the right price.
That's right. We want to talk about the business jet engine in a moment, but before we do that, Martin, you wrote a book which is on Amazon today, which covers most of the things we're going to be talking about. Would you share with everybody, particularly Bill, who's listening right now, how they can access it?
Well, literally, they just go to amazon.co.uk or amazon.com and they search for The Business Jet Engine by Martin Riley. They will see it there as a paperback or as an ebook, and they can choose either.
Okay, that's awesome. We will also put a link below this recording so that you will be able to click and be taken directly to that. Let's dive deep to talk about the Business Jet Engine, because this is fascinating. It really is simplifying what a lot of people may find complicated. Introduce us to the project.
Absolutely. So really, let me tell the story of how so many businesses evolve and get started. And a lot of people getting into business when they start out, they realize there's some fundamentals to business. You've got to have the problem you solve for your clients. That's your product or service. You've got to look after your clients. That's your customer service. And then there's your operations, how you deliver that product or service efficiently or effectively. And most people, when they start, they think that is business. And it is the heart of business. And that's why with our metaphor, I call it the heart of the jet engine. It's the jet engine itself. So most people start off and they're fairly good at that bit. And things might go quite well because they've brought some clients with them. They've told some people what they're going to do before they start. So they have some initial clients or contracts. And they assume that word of mouth will spread like wildfire and there'll be a huge success. So after about 3, 6, 9 months, thinking working for themselves is the best thing, they suddenly realize they don't have enough work.
That's right.
And they've got to get serious about that dirty thing nasty businesses have to do called sales and marketing. That's right. Because they've got an engine, but they need air coming into the engine to make it work. So coming in, you've got your sales and your marketing. Out the back, you have to have happy customers. That gets recycled. And that's your customer feedback, which you absolutely need. And then you've got to be marketing back to your existing customers, making sure they are buying the same thing again or know all your other products or services. You also need to be getting long-term market intelligence so you can course correct. So in our journey, it probably takes 2 years to get really good or good enough at that. And our business owner gets much busier again. And they're working really hard. And then they look in the bank and go, I've been doing all this work, working really hard. My accountant said I have made this much profit, owe this much tax, and there's no money in the bank. So now I've got to get fuel into the engine, not just air, to really make it effective. And this starts with the fuel coming in is your money. It's your pricing for profit. And out the back of the engine, some people think it's a dirty word. It's like your exhaust gases. That's your profit. Now, profit, exhaust, you can recycle like a turbocharger. So you have profit that reinvests to help boost growth. And you manage all of this, making sure that the whole fuel and engine works efficiently with your engine management system. You have to have good management accounts to be in control of the money cycle. So then we've got our engine working much more efficiently. So it's roaring away in a shed, in a warehouse, in a hangar. But what's the point? We're trying to go somewhere. We need a wing. And up until now, our business owner has hired casually. They need someone in a hurry. Just hire anyone, just get someone in a seat. What they realize, if they've got an upside down wing, because the people are like the wing we need on the engine. If you've got an upside down wing, then you just get ground into the ground. You go along the runway going downwards. If you've got average people, you go along the runway, going along on the runway, use time, money, and energy, but don't really go anywhere. If you've got the right profile people, the right profile wing, then you get lift. Then you can take off and fly. So we really have to have the right people. So it's the right quality of staff. And we direct that with our HR and our leadership processes in particular. We have to develop our leadership skills. So now our business owner, they have their aircraft up in the air, flying around, all well and good, except that's totally illegal. You can't just take off and fly a jet plane. You've got to have a pilot in the cockpit with his plans and the dashboard, the dials, which is all the business, goals, targets, KPIs to make sure you are on track. And if not, you can course correct. So what happens with the business jet engine? We create this diagram against people, that 17 key parts against which people can score where they're weak or strong out of 10. And then once they've got their 17 scores on a system diagram, the great question is, if you were going to fix one score, the one score that was going to have the greatest impact going forward this year, what would you fix, change, or improve? And that's when it really focuses the business owner's mind to go, actually, there may be some lower scores, but these may not have the biggest impact. There may be a medium score that if I fixed it, for example, I may have enough work coming in, but I'm really inefficient. My operations actually aren't efficient enough, or I'm fairly efficient, but I don't have enough quality staff. And that's dragging inefficiency down. So actually, if I improved the quality of staff, my efficiency would go up. That would free up more time for better sales and marketing. And then I could look at pricing. So it helps them choose kind of one thing will lead to a number of other actions. And what I do is then develop that to help them choose high impact, the 1, 2, or 3 top priorities for the year ahead, which we then put into simple but effective plans that get done, rinse and repeat. So year on year, they have a very simple but clear pathway that they follow, and that improves the business over time.
Absolutely love the simplicity of this. If you're joining us for the very first time, you're in the right place for you to grow your business, discover exactly what you need to do today. And the system that we're learning about here, you can access it. In fact, you just go straight to the website. I'll give you the website right now. Just go to businessjetengine.co.uk to download. There is a free material there, isn't there, Martin?
Yeah, there's a button on the homepage that says free tools, and you can download an interactive PDF and you'll get a video to explain this again, a kind of shorter version, and a number of emails that will explain exactly how to do this. And if you get the book, there's even more detail there.
Incredible. What I love about the system that you have outlined here, well, it works for me. If I can see the general overview of where I'm going, I'm able to take, a definitive step that, okay, this year I'm focusing on that, and then I move on to that, which is incredible. If you were to help me, Martin, for the first time, and we are sitting together, I've got all this plan, and you've asked me some questions. From your experience in helping hundreds of business owners, what is the number one area business owners need to focus on if they're going to get started in the most effective and way that they, it's going to produce more result for them?
Well, it does depend a little bit on their size. So if we're, if we're talking to someone who has staff, very often it's actually checking that their team really are the best that they can get for the role. Because, we might talk about the 80-20 rule later, and if people don't know it, they really need to look it up. It's absolutely vital to understand the 80-20 rule. But if you have non-performers in your business, you're going to spend 80% of your time trying to get non-performers to perform, which is draining and demoralizing. When you have people who are hired correctly, who are well-trained, can deliver, you're going to spend 20% of your time collaborating, liaising, delegating to high performers who take away a job and bring it back better than you have time to do yourself. That is energizing. It is motivating. But also, that leaves you 80% of your time to work on your business, on the things you need to do to get the business improved. If you're spending 80% of your time getting non-performers to do the job you're actually paying them to do, that leaves you only 20% of your time to actually improve the business. So it makes a dramatic difference just to make sure you really have the right people in place. And if people aren't up to scratch, you need to look at getting proper processes in place to review their performance, try and get them up to standard. And if they won't, you have to seriously look at changing them. And it's always the toughest thing for any business owner. They care hugely about the people they employ, and they're reluctant to let anybody go. But the thing I would say is most people aren't happy underperforming in a job. And it's actually, leadership as an act of love. One of the greatest things you can do is help find someone where they can be an A player, where they can excel. And if it's not somewhere else in your business, help them find it somewhere else where they can be the best they can be. And they'll actually thank you, and you'll thank yourself, because you'll get someone who wants your job, who absolutely wants to smash it, and is thrilled to be working with you and delivering. And that's such a different experience.
Absolutely. I know what you're talking about, because when I got started, I've got some people that have been working with me for years now. They become like your family members. You care for them. And when it comes to letting them go, it can be a painful experience.
Yeah. It absolutely is. It's probably the toughest bit of leadership, is letting anybody go, particularly when there's fear. They're fearful, you're fearful. It's hard, but it's done with kindness, done with best intentions, done human to human. Obviously, we've got to be mindful of the law, because employment law is a tricky beast. So I always suggest getting professional help if there's any risk that there's going to be a difficult conversation.
Yes.
But it will cripple your business not having people who really want to be there and are top performers. Everyone in your business needs to be an A player. Everyone needs edge in their role. You can't win the league with non-performers.
That's right. Absolutely right. It makes perfect sense. One of the things you're known for is helping business owners to hire experts,
Yes.
To do that. If you were to assist business owners right now and say, what are the key areas business owners need to look out for when they're hiring somebody into their organizations? Is it?
Oh, you're getting me on my most passionate subjects. I love this one. I've developed, again, making the complex simple. I realize there are three key things need to be reviewed, assessed. A lot of businesses just simply look at technical competence, the know-how for the job. If you look at sort of ACAS appraisal forms, a lot of it is competency based. But what I realize is there's three key areas that need to be right. People need to be competent in the role at the task, but there's drive, attitude, motivation, and character qualities as a second area. And there's the relationship, people skills, teamwork skills, communication skills. If you have someone who is brilliant in their role at the technical aspect, doesn't give a damn, and frankly, pees everybody off, they are going to do far more harm than good. But when you just look at they're indispensable in that role, you feel like my business can't survive without them. And that isn't true. So when I get clients to hire, I get them to, I call it the CDR hiring process. I get them to identify 5 to 7 mission critical qualities or skills in the competencies, 5 to 7 in the drive, motivation, attitude category, 5 to 7 in the relationship, people work, teamwork, communication categories that are mission critical for that role working. And then in the hiring process, you've got to find very simple but creative ways of checking that person has that aptitude or skill or can be trained in that skill. Because would you buy a second-hand car based on the tech spec in the window or what the salesman tells you? Yeah, people hire that way the whole time. They sit and they have an interview. And what they've found out is that person can answer good questions. That's all you know. They're good at answering interview questions. That's the only thing you found out. So what you have to do, for example, if you need someone who's really good at making sales calls for you, when they've applied, you send them a response saying, please make contact. You give them no more information. That will find out, will they take the initiative to find out how to make contact with you, and they will take the initiative to get through to you. Someone you want to do your cold calling, your selling, will be good at that, or someone good at process. Send us some information, highly detailed. We want a black and white photograph, 3 by 2 centimeters, 2 millimeters from the top left-hand corner. Give them lots of detail. Half the people go, they don't need that. I'll send them what I always send. The person who loves process will go, I will absolutely nail that. So there's lots of ways of just simply checking people have qualities and skills. And what I often do is get clients to do some of these initial tests whilst they're applying, then meet them, show them around, get them engaged, get them talking to the team. And if you like them and there's time, then get them to do some tasks with you, the kind of tasks they'd have to do for the job, get them doing some tasks with the people they'd be working with, and then get your team helping you score those people out of 10 in those categories I've given you.
Yeah.
And that way you can come up with a really factual assessment of who's likely to be an A player and who won't be. And if they're not a potential A player, don't hire, hold fire, because it will cost you far more in the long run to hire someone who's average and won't perform than hang on for the person who's really going to make that a rewarding, dynamic experience, that 20% working with performers. That's what you're looking for. Otherwise, it's going to drain you. And when people get the free tools, they also get an introduction to this kind of approach to hiring.
Indeed. And, evidence shows that if you have a great hire, it has the potential of truly changing the course of your business. Because if you have the right people with the right motivation, with the right relationship skills, there's nothing to stop you really, because it is these 3 key areas that drives your business. You'll be able to hit your goals. Let's talk about that. They've got the team aspect sorted out, Martin.
Yeah.
Using the JET system here. What is the next thing?
Well, they've got to check they've got their business model right, those 3 circles. And then the next thing is choosing those high impact strategic goals. And it can be different for any business. I mean, there are classic ones, which is the operations aren't efficient. They're often low scores. Everybody knows they could deliver their product or service more efficiently. And there's lots of ways of using AI, technology, automation, etc., outsourcing, plenty of ways to become more efficient. A classic area that just isn't good enough for a lot of small or medium-sized businesses is the accounting. Many of them are just up to date with the basic bookkeeping. What they don't have is some really good targets and forecasts that they're going to report against. But also, even if they have some forecasts for their management accounts, they don't have time to sit down and actually analyze and improve financial performance. So you've got to get yourself efficient enough with everything else working well enough to really make sure you have some good financial targets, some good management accounts that you actually look at to make sure you're actually making money. And that can even be as simple for many businesses as at the start of every year, having a budget, a plan for profit, where you have some very simple, again, I simplify everything, is I come up with very simple sales targets that are part of the business model. And once you've got those targets, you've obviously got to come up with your expenses. That gives you your budget. Now, it sounds like so simple, so obvious. Yes, a budget. It's your income minus your expenses gives you your profit. But so many businesses actually don't create one for the year ahead and then drive their business around it.
It's a recipe for stress right there, for sure. If you can nail these few things, I know there's a whole lot of content in your book, and I want to encourage anybody listening to, take a look at least and see what's there. One of the things that I appreciate about you, Martin, even in our previous conversation, is talking about the essential task of leadership. What those are, because when you are doing all these things, you have to develop yourself as an individual in becoming a leader. Now, that may mean a lot of things to a lot of people, but you've got a very interesting take on what it takes to become that effective business leader, be it in your organization or in the industry.
Yeah, I love the topics you're bringing up. They're all my big passions, and leadership is my next book, and it's going to be the 7 essential tasks of leadership. Without getting into the what and the why of leadership, in the end, it comes down to when the rubber hits the road. How do we be a better leader? And I've identified, because I decode everything, that there's 7 key tasks. And what all leaders are doing, whether you like what they're doing or not, effective leaders all tend to do 7 things. First is they have the vision, the mission, the goal, the plan, the task. They have the thing they want to achieve, whether it's grand or small. The second thing they do is they have a plan to achieve it. They take steps, they work the plan, take the steps towards the goal, put that plan into action. And a lot of that second task is about repetitive things you do over and over again. So it's not only working the plan, but it's about streamlining your culture. Your culture is all the things that are consistent, you do consistently. So really streamlining how you work towards your plan. So 1 is have the plan, 2 is work the plan. And wouldn't it be great in life if you got the plan, work the plan, we achieve the goal, job done. Well, how often does that not happen? So the third task is scanning for meaningful change, checking, are we on track or off track? Or has the world changed? Has the goal changed? Have we changed? Have our customers changed? We've got to keep scanning for meaningful change and measuring the gap. How far off track are we? If we're too far off track, we have a problem. So the 4th leadership task is then problem solving. And good problem solvers make sure, firstly, they've fully defined the problem they need to solve. And, my clients, one of my other catchphrases is, what's the problem we're really trying to solve here, guys?
Yes.
So make sure we define the problem, come up with options, analyze and choose the best potential solution. And then the 5th leadership task is test that solution, prototype, test. And if you've got a successful prototype, then implement it. Now, if it's a one-off problem and your prototype solves it, job done. But most problems, if you've got too big a gap between where you want to go and where you're going, normally it's because something's going wrong consistently. So you don't just need to fix it once, you need to fix it consistently. So it's a bit like, deciding to get fit after Christmas. How many of us go to the gym once, twice, maybe for a month and don't keep it up? We've got to get change to stick. So, that part of that fifth task is bringing it back into the culture and making it consistent and stick, which also means we've got to keep checking what we're doing that we don't need to do anymore. What's become redundant? Where are we filling up our filing cabinet or bookshelf with things that are no longer relevant to us? Clear it out. Clear out the old systems, processes, procedures, things that we're hanging on to.
Yeah.
So there's 5 tasks, but there's 2 more. Because the whole way through, what great leaders are doing is the 6th task is nurturing relationships. They're identifying the people who are going to help them achieve what they need to achieve. And they're developing, nurturing those relationships. They're also identifying the relationships that are pulling them off track and reducing, minimizing, even getting rid of in that area, those relationships that take them off track. Mm-hmm. The 7th leadership task is you've got to influence those relationships. And there's 2 parts to influence, in my opinion. A is being appropriate, because most of us don't like to be treated inappropriate. We tend to react back. Most people respond well to being treated appropriately. So we've got to treat people appropriately. And B, we've got to be effective. We've got to be clear. Because if you think about it, how do we feel if we've got an expectation and people over deliver? How do we feel if we get more than we hope for?
Oh, incredible.
And if we've got an expectation we get less than we hope for, how do we feel?
Disappointed. You don't want to do business with that person.
And if we get a lot less, we feel angry and frustrated. Now, if we don't have clear agreements, we don't have clear expectations, we don't know what other people want, and they don't know what we want from us. So A, we've got to be appropriate, but B, we've got to be super clear, really clear agreements, really clear communication. Otherwise, we're doomed to fail. It's a failure contract.
That's right.
So there we are, seven key tasks. Have the goal, work the plan, scan if we're on or off track. If we're off track, problem solve, come up with our ideal solution, test it, prototype it, trial it, implement it, bring it back into the culture, back towards course correcting to get to our goal. And all the way through, develop relationships and influence people appropriately and effectively. And they're the 7 things that we rinse and repeat. It's an iterative cycle till we get to our goal.
Outstanding. This is a proper masterclass, and I would love to, to hear what people are finding out about this. I'm personally enjoying this. Martin, this is incredible. We're coming toward the end of our time together, and I would love to have you back on the show, maybe to talk about why relationships goes wrong. Because if you have to look at that aspect where you talk, the last 2 things, it has to do with the relationship. You and I, with the wrong relationship, choosing the right people, things are going to go wrong. No matter how much you try, no matter how much you want that, it's just not going to happen, because it takes people to make dreams come true. So we would love to have you at some point, if time permits, to talk about that and how you can fix those relationships and create perhaps joy, a stress-free life in your business moving forward. So thank you so much for being here.
Absolute pleasure. Absolute pleasure.
Any final thoughts for Bill and the entire crew? We've got an amazing community here when it comes to what we've been talking about here.
Well, I think, as sort of a closing shot, if you don't know the 80-20 rule, it's a sword I absolutely live and die by. I apply it to everything I do. If they want a quick tip, a productivity tip, my favorite is 3 notes on a Post-it. The night before, I tend to just make sure I think through what are my top 3 most important things to get done the following day. And I put those on a Post-it and 3 nice to haves. Anything else then becomes a bonus. All the other things on my to-do list. So I have a very simple focus to my day, and I get those done. Whatever else it costs me, I get those done. And that way I'm making great progress every day. I always get the key things done. So three tasks on a Post-it note. I love that one.
This is incredible. Going back to what we've been talking about, if people have got a good understanding of the whole journey as a business, like the business jet engine, like you can see all the 17 critical components, and you can actually begin to visualize, okay, if I work on this one for this month, and this week I'm working on these 3 things, or maybe 6 things, whatever they may be, and you've got that on a nightly basis, you're focusing, okay, I'm working on this. The change that would experience there truly would be remarkable. You start at the beginning of the year, by the end of the year, you've got 360-10 on what's going on in your organization.
That's absolutely right. And this is one of the key principles, I'm glad you touched on that, of the jet engine process. By choosing these kind of 1, 2, or 3 priority areas, in the process, we tend to end up with 9 subtasks, which is further explained. But then I get the business owners to pick those off one at a time. Which is first of those 9, which is second, which is third, knowing they're going to get to the others later in the year.
Right.
And again, that de-stresses it, because the risk is to try and fix everything all at once. And what do? We get confused, overwhelmed, burnt out. So knowing we're getting to it, knowing as long as it's good enough for now, by improving strategically the right things, I'm actually doing more good than harm. And these other things, I'm going to get to them. And it just de-stresses the whole thing. So I'm so glad you touched on that before we closed off.
Beautiful. And again, go to this website, which is businessjetengine.co.uk. And there's some free resources there as well. And you can connect with Martin on LinkedIn. It's fairly straightforward. It's Martin Riley, and you'll be able to do that. Is there any other place where people can connect with you?
Well, if they look on the Business Jet Engine website, they will see my social media. So yes, there's my LinkedIn, there's my Facebook. I currently don't use Twitter too much. I do a little bit more on YouTube, but there is going to be more coming. So they can subscribe to those, and as things get released, they will be able to see them. So yeah, all my social media would be great. And my email address is on the website. I love hearing from people. So I'd love people to fire any questions they've got.
Amazing. There you have it, ladies and gentlemen, hearing from a great author of the Business Jet Engine system or process, and also just a great person. And if you want to know more, like we always say, what are the 3 things you've learned today? When are you going to implement them? If you've got a question, you know where to go. Martin is here to help you, and our team are here to help you as well. Never leave a place of discovering something new that you feel is important for your business without scheduling when you're going to implement it. I can ask you a question. When are you going to implement those 3 things you've discovered today? And if you can't find the time, make the time, because it is by making this time that is going to help you move closer to your goal. Look, we believe in you. That's why we bring outstanding guests like Martin, because we know you can apply the principles and you can have the true success that you truly want to have. I do believe that great leadership is found in these places. I want to encourage you to go get our book, The 8 Qualities of Great Leadership, if you haven't already. If you want to participate in our upcoming book that we are putting together, just go to www.yokaipublishingservices.com/synergy. And we can't wait to hear from you. Until next time, live well, live with passion, know that the best is truly yet to come. And again, thank you, Martin, for being on the show.
Absolute pleasure, Yokai. Thank you.
And goodbye for now. Thank you for tuning in to Yokai Business Show. We hope you have enjoyed today's episode and have gained valuable insights and inspiration from our amazing guest. Don't forget to subscribe and leave us a review to help us spread the word. Also, be sure to check out our Leadership Ultimate Success Mastermind program, which is designed to help you and leaders in our community to do great things and support each other along their leadership journey. Until next time, live well, live with passion, know that the best is truly yet to come.